naming things. I'm glad you guys showed up. It is so important for a couple of reasons. Number one, to end the stranglehold of the two-party system on our local politics. I mean, at all levels, local, state, national. It's not healthy. It hasn't been working for us. The exit systems of power and control that have been in power have become corrupt, and they work, number one, for their own self-interest, number two, for the people who pay the bills, which are the mega corporations and billionaires that write both parties, and number three, for the people only if they can be bothered, which is not that often. And when they can be bothered, it's usually for a wedge issue that is pushed by both parties to divide us and keep us arguing amongst ourselves. Arguing amongst ourselves has not helped anything, and it won't help anything. The call is coming from inside the House. The two-party system is the problem. And we can all say one party's worse and one party's better, and we agree with this and we disagree with that. We can always, on any issue, of course, be like, yes, I agree with this party. But it is the system, it is the two-party system that does not work for us that we absolutely have to do away with. It's beyond time. We all have supercomputers in our pockets that can be convinced to tell us the truth. And the truth is that this system is working for itself, not for us. The number two reason that I thought it was very important to have this town hall today is HB 249. They've labeled it an obscenity bill, but it is Josh Williams' third attempt at a drag queen ban. Josh Williams has been in office for 3 years and has made 3 attempts at laws targeting drag queens and trans people. This man is obsessed with drag queens in a deeply, deeply unhealthy way. And the proof is in the pudding. If he wasn't obsessed with drag queens, he would maybe have put forward 3 bills on health care, safety, education, public works, but 3 bills about drag queens for his own personal obsession. That, my friends, is not someone who needs an ounce more power than they already have. And the amount that they have, they are abusing. I have so much more to say on 249, but I want to give everybody the chance to come up and introduce themselves really quick. So we're going to give it up to Tom Pruss.
Hey.
Thank you. That's a hard act to follow. Tom Pruss, I'm running for Ohio Secretary of State. For those who don't know, the Secretary of State consists of 2 jobs. One is, of course, looking over businesses, LLCs, organizations like that. That's the unsexy part of it. The sexy part of it, of course, is elections. And right now we are going through a phase in which we have a certain group of people who want to pass a certain piece of legislation that it be legislated broadly across the United States. States control the elections. If you don't like how California runs an election, go to California, run for Secretary of State there. We live in Ohio, we have good, fair elections. Because if we didn't, the guy who's running for Senate and the guy who's running for Treasurer, they must have done a very bad job, because the Republicans were in control for 16 years in the Ohio Secretary of State's office. So what we need to do is not discourage people to vote, but offer opportunities for more people to vote and become involved, because that's the only way we're going to continue our democracy. So I ask for your support in May for the Libertarian Ballot. Vote for Tom Pruss for Secretary of State. Thank you.
All right, next up we have Bill Redpath.
Sorry.
Thank you very much. My name is Bill Redpath. I will be the Libertarian candidate for U.S. Senate on the November ballot. I'm on the primary ballot, but I just need 1 vote to get the nomination for the November general election. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to get at least that, hopefully a lot more. I am back in Ohio now. I was born and raised in Findlay. I lived the first 18 years of my life in Findlay. I recently relocated about 50 weeks ago today, actually, to Perrysburg, Ohio, and it's good to be back in my native state. I am running for the United States Senate because I want there to be a libertarian voice in this election this year, which there would not be if the Libertarian Party did not have a candidate in the election. I agree with David, absolutely. The two-party system, I gave up on it 42 years ago. I joined the Libertarian Party April 30, 1984, according to records at LPHQ, and I did it because I was fed up with the two-party system. I didn't like Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan made me a libertarian, and that's not meant as a compliment to Ronald Reagan. There was an old saying, so old that nobody uses it anymore, that people join the Libertarian Party because of two issues. Not the same two issues, their two issues. And my two issues, when I was 26 years old, were Social Security and the drug war. And those are still two huge issues that motivate me somewhat differently now, but at least Social Security. But it's a ripoff for young people. We have a system where there's a Reason magazine article coming out in the May edition talking about the effusive benefits given to many seniors out there. Monthly payments in Social Security of $5,000 per month. If some people, if they wait until age 70 and retire, there are couples out there getting $10,000 a month from Social Security. Seriously, there are Medicare payments going for golf greens fees, for even pet supplies. Believe it or not, it's in this article. And we need to tighten up on the expenditures for these programs, these entitlement programs, to make it so that it's directed to people who truly need the money, as opposed to situations where many people are receiving benefits, generous benefits, that are unequaled anywhere else with any other nation in the world. And I also want to say that I'm very motivated to run because I don't know if you saw the president's speech last night, but that was truly pathetic. I mean, seriously, that was truly pathetic. And I thought of the name of him today. I put it out on an X post today. Thought this up myself. He is the Boastmaster General of the United States. He is the man boasts. I mean, it truly, and I put in my post, it was just full of delusion and dribble. And wouldn't it be nice if we had a president of the United States who did not speak as if he were an inarticulate teenager or a senile old man? And
a bit of both, actually.
Yeah, so we've had both recently, but in any event, there are also. But I won't go on the various issues. It's a libertarian platform. Probably everybody in here has a pretty good idea of what libertarians stand for: both economic freedom and personal freedom. We need more of both in the United States, and we're not going to get it from the Republican, and we're not going to get it from the Democratic parties out there. That is for sure. They proved that in spades constantly by taking us to wars, overspending, taking us toward a future debt crisis, and with taxation that is way higher than it needs to be or should be. My website is billredpath.com. I'm on Facebook. Thanks to Don Kissick, I'm on TikTok. Thanks to Tom Pruss, I'm on Facebook. But billredpath.com is my website, and take a look at it, please. And I respectfully request your vote both on May 5 and November 3 for U.S. Senate. Thank you very much.
All right, up next we have Don Kissick.
I want to thank everyone for coming out. David, thank you for setting up this town hall. It's nice to get to Toledo, from time to time. I live in Putnam County. If you have never been there, you have probably driven by it and not even thought about it. It is in the middle of nowhere. A lot of farm fields. And to that end, obviously agriculture can be very important in terms of Ohio policy. We're piling too much on every sector of the economy with overregulation, tax burdens, and right now everything's so unaffordable. We've got to find ways to make life less expensive again. What I want to do is, I want to try and do as much deregulation as responsible. And I want to also, another big thing is I don't want to regulate how you live your lives. One thing I've been saying, since I started this campaign, I'm going to say it all the way up to Election Day, you are an adult. And it is past due time that government in Ohio started treating you like one. Excuse me. Trying to think, you had brought up a few points, I want to build on them. And I've been talking so much, I talked myself right out of it, Bill. But, one of the things that's making life too expensive is if you want to start your own business, if you want to break out on your own, the licensing process is too complex, too expensive. Obviously, it's not like I want to eliminate, say, safety protocols for like food service or something like that. I mean, that's pretty common sense stuff, but the idea that you've got to jump through so many hurdles to do something as simple as, say, braiding hair. This is a field of work that libertarians have been talking about for a couple of decades now. That there's such a push across so many states to make it so if you want to start your own business, you have to jump to even if you want to do something just very niche and very small in scope, they still want to make you do all the same licensure as someone that has a much larger and broader business. Like, say, they want you to do. Too many people want you to do full licensing for cosmetology, even if you only want to do a narrow portion of that line of work, which is kind of absurd. But the idea is it's a protectionist practice. The larger businesses, they love these regulations, not because, it's fair, because it's keeping them in check. No, it's keeping you in check. Because it makes it harder for you to get into these markets where if you want to provide for yourself. If you want to get a side gig going on, something that you are passionate about, you shouldn't have to climb, ladders with steps this high as the first step. Let's bring the steps down. Let's make life more accessible. Let's make work more accessible, making life more affordable. I also want to undo Governor DeWine's gasoline and diesel fuel tax. That right there, just the slashing gasoline taxes statewide would immediately put some relief for everyone. Now, the reason why diesel fuel is so important is that it's going to make transportation less expensive. The reason why I'm so big on that, transportation or trucking, however you want to frame it, it affects the cost of everything. Every sector of the economy, manufacturing, tech, retail in particular. The more it costs to ship goods back and forth, the more expensive everything you try to buy off the shelf becomes. And this is especially burdensome for small businesses. Target and Walmart, they can order enormous truckloads of product. So they don't pay as much per unit then when they bring it to their shelves. The family-owned business, they don't have a huge warehouse. So they are paying more per unit. And all of a sudden, that's why does it cost $1 more for a can of tomato sauce at the corner grocery store than it does at Walmart? There's a reason for that. I mean, you're always going to have some economic imbalance, but we can level that playing field a little bit just by getting government out of people's way. And that's probably the number one thing I want to do. I want government out of your way so you can live your life. If you cross a line, yes, there should be accountability and consequences, but afterward, not in anticipation thereof. To me, that's probably the most un-American thing we do anymore, trying to pre-punish people when all they want to do is live their lives. Beyond that, if you want to learn more or keep up with what we're doing, DonKissick.com is our website. I'm on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and X, formerly known as Twitter. I post a lot. I talk about a lot of issues in social media, but I do try to stay focused here on what's happening in Ohio. Thanks for your time.
All right. Up next, we have Zach Hall.
Thank you, everybody, for coming out. My name is Zach Hall. I was born and raised here in Toledo. My husband and I are married and have a house over in West Toledo. Thank you all for coming out. Seriously, thank you, David. Thank all the candidates for running as well. So first and foremost, I'm running for state rep because our representatives down in the state house are focusing on the most important issues. Naming a state candy, drag, and that's about it. So Northwest Ohio has been left out of the playbook for far too long. We need a representative who's actually going to represent Northwest Ohio. You know who gets everything within the state? Cincinnati, Columbus, and Cleveland. That's it. Toledo doesn't get any fair share, but we're the glass city, we're the glass capital of the world. It's all baloney if we're not getting anything or any representation down in the State House. We have 4 or 5 representatives who represent Toledo alone. None of them have represented us effectively like we should be. And that's the way I personally feel. Now, we are debating candy and drag queens, but why aren't we debating whether or not our infrastructure can be improved, whether or not people in our communities can get the help that they deserve from the state and actually get representation down there? I want to be a representative who goes down to Columbus and says, listen, I just talked to Jeff next door and he doesn't care about candy, he doesn't even eat chocolate, so why are we debating this? That's what I want to go down to the State House to do. I want to actually represent us. I work at Kroger. I'm not, a lawyer or any bigwig. Worked at Kroger for 5 years. Now I'm a student. I'm going to medical school. So I'm just an average Joe who wants to make a difference, and that's why I'm running. I might be the youngest guy running for state rep, but, screw it. Might as well make a difference. So, again, my name is Zach Hall. I would appreciate your vote on May 5th, and then come the general election, I would appreciate your vote. I do have a Republican opponent and a Democratic opponent who is the incumbent, but I can make a difference. I want to make a difference. I would appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Who are those people?
The people running, it would be Carmel and Michelle Grimm. Yes. So, again, Zach Hall, I would appreciate your vote. That's the name to remember. Thank you.
All right. Next, we have Ken Sharp.
Let's go, Ken.
Thank you, and thank you, David, for hosting this tonight. And it is important. My name is Ken Sharp. I'm going to be running for, or am running for Ohio Senate District 11. And right now, that bill that we are basically discussing here tonight has passed the House, and it is going for the Senate. And I would be a no vote in the Senate, quite honestly. This is grandstanding. This is a grandstanding law. It is meant to empower basically names in the House and in the Senate, when in fact most of what the law really encompasses is already law. There's nothing new here. The stuff that they're trying to do new actually infringes upon people's liberties and freedoms. So it's completely unnecessary. It's quite an overreach. I am running basically unopposed in the primary, so I will not have I will not be primary. But I do want to make sure that people understand that it's important to follow a libertarian primary ballot. We've got the two-party system because people don't reach outside the parties. And they need to do that. They need to get away from that. You can't keep complaining about your party that you supposedly think you're a member of isn't doing what you want and is instead only beholden to an oligarchical class, or as it's often called now, the Epstein class. Because that's really what it is. You are not a member of a party simply because you vote a certain way. The actual members of the Democrat and Republican parties are a few thousand very wealthy people that control what goes on. So the only way to really break that is to empower the smaller parties. And with that, I'd also like to thank Manhattans here for being a great host for us again.
Absolutely.
And that also goes to the idea that when you spend your money locally at the smaller places, it amplifies your dollar through the community. When you spend it at Walmart, Kroger's, or the chain restaurants, it doesn't amplify nearly as much in the community. It's the same thing with the political parties. When you are voting Republican or Democrat, you're actually empowering distant people who really don't know you, don't have your concerns or any of your desires in mind. They have only their own. And even though you may know some of those people locally in your community, they are not going to affect what that party does at the state and certainly at the federal level. So it's important to pull the Libertarian primary ballot this time around. It gets harder and harder for the parties that are not Democrat and Republican to get that ballot access, and this is a way to ensure that they do. So I'm Ken Sharp. I'm running for Ohio Senate 11, and I'd appreciate your vote in the primary and the general election.
All right. Thank you. And Bill Redpath had one thing he wanted to add.
That's right. I want to point out Aiden Jeffrey here. And here's the situation. We have a candidate for state auditor in Ohio, but he's not on the primary ballot. Why isn't he on? He didn't get, he would have had to have gotten 500 signatures of registered voters, and actually a lot more than that, but I'm not going to go into the gory details. But in any event, he is a write-in candidate for Ohio Auditor, and it's important for people to write in Aiden Jeffrey for Ohio Auditor, because while people on the ballot, if they are unopposed, on the primary ballot, if they get one vote, and I hope I get a lot more, and I hope all the candidates here get a lot more than that. But we're going to make the general election ballot. Aiden Jeffrey has to get 500 write-in votes in the primary in order to advance to the general election ballot. So that's why I wanted to point it out, AIDANJEFFERY. Please write in Aiden Jeffrey for state auditor so you will have another choice for state auditor in the general election this fall.
All right. And we have one more candidate in the audience. We have Ben Machukas. Come on up.
Yeah.
I'm Ben Machukas, running for state rep in District 88. Thank you, David, for reminding me about this. Thanks, everybody, for coming. I like to discuss general ideas with examples. So, one example of the government controlling your life and thinking they know better than you is Ohio Issue 2, the legalization of marijuana. The residents, the citizens voted for that. They wanted it, and now they just passed a bill to limit that. So they're very much saying they know better than you, and they don't care that you voted yes on this. So what other things are they going to intrude on that we think are important? That's disappointing. Another thing is, I just learned this doing research. Ohio is the has the sixth most amount of data centers. I didn't realize that until I looked it up. I think that's an issue because none of us really realized that. Like, that just happened. What? I think there's some shady stuff going on there. I think there is a constitutional amendment for Ohio that was just approved, but it needs signatures. So if you want to look into that and sign, that would be nice. It bans mega data centers. So look into that, please, and try to sign that. And the third one is, hold on. Drawing blank. One second.
Don't feel bad. I was earlier. It happens.
I'll just make something
Oh,
up.
yes. So
Like the other thing I feel strongly about is Netflix.
So the state just passed a bill that effectively, this is what they do. They threaten to withhold money unless municipalities do the things that they want. So they pretty much said they will defund any municipality that uses ranked choice voting, which, again, saying, we know better than you. You can't use this. That's really frustrating. Let people, if a city wants to use this, let them use it. If it works for them, let them use it. So those are three pretty big issues to me. So thank you for listening.
Thank you, Ben.
Ben, where exactly is District 88?
It's pretty much all of Sandusky and Seneca counties.
Okay.
Did
far
I
from-
forget any of the candidates? Excellent. We have a lot. All right. Well, thank you to all of our candidates for coming up and talking about basic libertarian values and why we are all running. A common theme that you heard is that the government thinks it knows better than you. As Ben brought up, issue 2. We had a citizen-led ballot initiative that legalized marijuana, which I am on right now. Thank you, Gummy. Legally. But our government thinks they know better. And we are now fighting another citizen-led ballot initiative to claw back the rights that we just got for ourselves. In our state house, they are trying to roll those rights all the way back. And we, again, as citizens, are doing a citizen-led ballot initiative. It's not a Democrat-led ballot initiative, and they say that they fight for this, but they don't fight too hard when push comes to shove. Marijuana legalization is one of those things that I think they have to be like, yes, we're for that, and to the cringe of all of the powers that be and the people writing the checks. It's creating a brand new system, and the corporations were not yet a part of it, and they weren't thrilled about that. But the overriding theme is the government thinking that it knows better than us. And a perfect example is HB 249, that supposed drag ban bill that Josh Williams just had passed through the Ohio House. And I do have to say thank you to Josh Williams, because he is the reason that I am in politics. So thank you, Josh Williams. I'd now like to open it up for anybody who has a question for any of the candidates about this or anything. It is a town hall, so town, let us know what you think. What are your questions? What do you need? What do you want?
What is his bill this time?
So this time, HB 249 is branded as an obscenity bill. And one interesting thing to look at is the evolution of this bill over the last 3 years in which Josh Williams has been in power. He has been trying to pass a drag ban bill for 3 years. This is the third version of it. It is the most toothless version, but it is still created automatically to anybody who dresses against their biological sex that they were assigned at birth is classified as an adult cabaret performer. I am not an adult cabaret performer. I am a chubby drag queen. Those are not the same things at all. In earlier versions of Josh Williams' bill that he wanted to push, this would have been illegal. This gathering, because I'm in drag chit-chatting with y'all, would have had to have been held in a strip club. That's what he tried to pass. So while we look at the evolving reasons that are presented for HB 249, he has now tried to make it the most reasonable version, the most toothless version, but it is still basically to virtue signal to the far right that he is beating their drum to their tune. Oh, I hate drag queens too. Look at my drag queen bill. He is trying the old divide and conquer strategy, trying to push forward wedge issues to get in the news and get us fighting amongst ourselves, instead of talking about how useless everyone who should be fighting for. I see 15 hands. Zach first.
Would Mrs. Doubtfire be banned if this bill passes?
If this bill passes, technically no, because, well, here's the thing. If this bill passes, that would be up to the subjective view of the law enforcement officer who was present in a public viewing of Mrs. Doubtfire. If that law enforcement officer felt that that was obscene or inappropriate, yes, that would now be a felony. So, when Josh Williams was asked about this on the Ohio floor, Josh Williams said, well, yes, laws have always been misappropriated by law enforcement. Look at Jim Crow.
Oh?
Yeah.
Josh Williams cited Jim Crow laws as an example of what would happen under his bill that he was pushing forward to the Ohio House. Let me say that again. Josh Williams cited Jim Crow laws as his argument of what would be applied for the bill that he's putting forward. Jim Crow laws, as we all know, were used to disenfranchise newly freed slaves who are now able to vote. That is what Jim Crow laws were. That is why this new law is specifically vague. It wants to put enough vagueness that an objective, well, not an objective, a non-objective law enforcement officer could now say, you're fourth degree felony, get the fuck out of here. Absolutely not. We've had Mrs. Doubtfire. We've had all of these things in our culture for a long, long time. Drag queens are not any more inherently obscene than a Dolly Parton wig and a sequin. It means nothing, and we should all be doing better things with our time. And I think that our elected officials should absolutely be doing better things with their time than trying to legislate drag queens. Again, this is his third bill in his third year. He is obsessed in an unhealthy way. He could be helping little kids with cancer.
Yeah, I don't want to lose Medea.
Okay? Absolutely not.
I don't want to lose Monty Python, for goodness sake.
Right. Tom, you had something?
Oh, I was going to say, as a Santa performer, it becomes a slippery slope.
Mm-hmm.
Because all it would take is another legislator who decides that, you know what, we should extend this to supernatural and mystical caricatures. Next thing you know, Santa Claus isn't at the mall. Why? Because someone doesn't like Santa Claus.
First of all, Santa Claus is real.
There you go. so
right
it's the proverbial slippery slope that everybody always talks about. They always, oh no, it won't go that far. It can go that far.
And here we are, that far. This version of the bill passed the Ohio House, and it will fly through the Senate. The bill already has 43 co-sponsors who are senators. It only needs 50 to get through, and there is a Republican supermajority in our Ohio Senate. This bill will become law if not vetoed by our governor.
As
Governor.
Yeah, as a gubernatorial candidate, I would absolutely veto this. This is another example of just the nanny state out of control. It wasn't you, Bill. It was you, Dave, that had the point. You brought up House Bill 249. Here's the thing: if our legislators in Columbus were really worried about what's best for the kids' safety, why have they not removed Les Wexner's name from the Ohio State University campus?
Yes.
The Epstein co-conspirator, his name is all over there, but they want to focus on
Tractor.
drag queens. You run a food truck. I mean, for God's sakes, you talk about some horribly misplaced priorities. My son's 11. My stepdaughter's 15. Our kids are in that vulnerable age range where folks like Epstein, Maxwell, Wexner would have loved to have exploited them. Would absolutely love to. And I'm getting a little bit passionate about this. Again, as a dad, to see, it's all about the kids' safety. We're going to ignore decades of some of those horrific crimes committed against children that I'm not going to go into any detail because your people are eating. We're trying to be respectful there, but it's almost sending me into a vapor lock because I don't understand how they can just be so. Les Wexner's name. No, that name needs to come down right now. Now, you can wait for the politicians that are running for office to, maybe remember to keep their promises once they're sworn in January. One thing you could do right now and really force people's hands, especially at Ohio State University, stop buying the merchandise, stop buying the apparel, stop buying the Ohio State memorabilia, stop buying the tickets, and then if it comes down to it, stop watching the games. Make their revenue streams start to dip, make the ratings tank. You'll have their attention. Whether or not the politicians currently holding office will actually do something. I want the name of the Epstein co-conspirator off every building. We're at that time of year where young people aged 16 to 18, they're doing the campus tours, they're doing admissions interviews. What message are they receiving when they see the name Wexner everywhere at OSU? For crying out loud, what message are we sending to every student athlete that comes from different campuses to compete in Columbus when they see that name everywhere? The message that they're going to get is that our principles are negotiable, their well-being is negotiable, and when that's the message they receive, they're going to take that with them into adulthood. What is society going to look like when you have an entire generation of adults who say, I guess, my well-being and right from wrong is negotiable. America's not going to look anything like what you thought it should look like at that point. This is an issue that we got to tackle right here in Ohio, just because it's a message that everywhere in America needs to get. Thank you. Go ahead.
What is the libertarian or your personal opinion on healthcare and the provision of that?
Healthcare, honestly, healthcare really needs to go as best inch back to the free market as we can get it. Like a great example of the problem with the entire insurance industry, like my attitude is, I would like to completely deregulate and end all insurance mandates. Let the insurance industry just collapse under its own weight. We prop it up. Like a great example, my first wife, God rest her soul, and just a quick thing about me, I was widowed and remarried. And my first wife, she needed new glasses. We go to the optometrist in Lima. We go through all the tests. She gets her prescription, and they say, well, what's your insurance? And we's like, we've got to pay out of it. We didn't have insurance at the time. Well, immediately, the person at the desk says, oh, you get a 30% discount because we didn't make them go through insurance. If you don't go through insurance for most of your healthcare needs, they automatically lock 30% off your bill. There is something extremely broken in that system. And we can pass more and more laws, make it more and more complicated. We're just going to make the situation worse because every time you pass a new law or regulation, it creates unfunded mandates, and someone's got to pay for all that. And it ends up being the customers. And then your health insurance, your health care becomes more expensive as a result. We get government out of the way, stop playing middleman. Like there's a surgery center in Oklahoma, the Oklahoma Surgery Center, in fact, it's aptly called. They actually do everything like they break down the cost of everything up front and tell you how much every part of your procedure will cost. And it enables people to actually make an informed choice, but because they don't go through insurance in any way, shape, or form, the costs are actually less than most people's co-pays after insurance. Our system's broken. It is. I mean, I would love to maybe give you a more viable political answer, but the problem is every so-called solution keeps making healthcare less accessible for people.
So how does that apply to Medicare and Medicaid systems that are in place now?
Right now, Medicaid, gosh,
Well,
I gather my thoughts.
That's a federal
let me,
Well, Medicaid is actually state. The thing is, it's, God, I don't know how to try that word.
Well-
What doesn't help is that it's almost past my bedtime. I get up at 3 a.m. every day. The trust funds for all these Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, they've been raided by politicians through the decades. They have borrowed out of them so they could pay for a new highway project or some other, special giveaway to, their top campaign donors. There are so many problems with Medicaid. I'm sure you've got, plenty to say on this, but just your average political solution probably isn't going to work. Oh, man.
Throat's right.
I'm gonna think of it. I've got a little throat problem myself today, so I better go get my set it up here in case I need to go for it. Yeah, the healthcare system in this nation is really messed up. I do think we have a great healthcare system overall in this nation. I mean, when people want top-notch medical care, they come to the United States, all right? And I once had somebody who worked in the medical industry say to me, Bill, if you want to see a lot of Canadian license plates, walk through the parking lot of the Cleveland Clinic. But how could it be improved? Well, first of all, the idea that we do not have a free market in healthcare. One of the big problems with our healthcare is that 90% of medical expenditures are paid by a third party. Only 10% is actually paid by individuals out of pocket. I think that the most pernicious problem with the system right now is the fact that so many people get their insurance through their employer. This is a relic. We don't get other insurance through our employer. We don't get car insurance. We don't get home insurance. We don't get any other boat insurance. But we do help so many people get health care through their employer. And this is a policy problem that goes back to the Second World War, when wages were frozen and employers competed against each other by providing health benefits to their employees. And this system has grown out of that. So I think that doing away, and it has devastated the individual market for health care. So we need, if we're going to make health care less expensive, we need to encourage freedom in terms of people, health providers being able to provide services across state lines, insurance companies being able to sell insurance across state lines. We need to allow, through deregulation, licensed practitioner nurses to perform more services. We need to boost the supply of healthcare in various ways. With respect to Medicare, I think it ought to be a cash provision that is paid to people instead of the government paying providers, because if people are provided cash and they're paying out of their own pocket for something, studies have shown that it actually drives prices down for medical services, and there are studies that show that this is the case. And so that would be a way to restrain spending, because we're headed, unfortunately, I think we're headed to some sort of debt crisis in this nation if we do not restrain government spending. Right now, we're running $2 trillion annual deficits, ballpark, and those are scheduled to increase. I won't, unless you want to talk about the finances of the federal government, I'll just end it there. So we've got to encourage people to be better consumers with respect to Medicaid. I think that it ought to be changed, because right now, I don't believe there's a Medicaid trust fund. There is for Medicare and there is for Social Security, but with Medicaid there's not. And the system is set up where if a state spends money, then there is an automatic payment coming in from the federal government. The state spends more, federal government spends more. And this leads to a situation where states don't feel restrained. If they cut Medicaid spending, then they're losing that federal revenue with it, which is not the case if they cut spending in other areas. So there's an incentive to not restrain spending in terms of Medicaid. So I think the best way to go about that is to change it to a block grant program where the federal government changes it to a simple flat amount that they pay to the states, and that is phased out over 10 years to allow states time to adjust in their public policies to provide Medicaid services to the poor, to the indigent, and they have time to adjust. There's no reason the federal government has to be involved in the provision of health care to the poor, and by allowing the states to take over those programs, we can see what various states do, see what policies work best, as opposed to sort of a top-down solution from the federal government.
Thank you. I have one more thing that I want to share on healthcare, because this is actually really important to me. I am an orphan. My father died when I was 13. My mother died when I was 17. I was 13 years old watching my widowed mother open one bill from Beaumont Hospital that was a line of nines. A line of nines. My dad was young. He was 44 years old, was a young kid. They threw everything at him. They tried everything. And thank God for our healthcare system, because our healthcare system is amazing, but our healthcare insurance system needs torn down to the ground and rebuilt. And that is my point. The line of nines should never happen. Whether you have insurance or don't have insurance, the line of nines should never happen. And a core libertarian value is that competition is good, competition drives everything for consumers, and companies want to make as much money as possible, and the best way to do that is to do the best for consumers. But I do not believe that healthcare is one area of American government that should be monetized. I don't think that there should be a profit value assigned to healthcare insurance, because the deepest incentive at every level will always be the profit. And when we are talking about healthcare insurance, that comes at the expense of human lives, of hours, of weeks, of minutes. We had Cobra insurance, and they threw everything, they tried everything to save my dad, and were unsuccessful. But I wonder how many more weeks or minutes or hours I had because we were blessed to have that insurance because of his job. What would they not have tried if we were not insured the way that they like us to be insured? What would they not have done? What experimental surgery? What wouldn't they have done? How many hours and minutes did I get? And what is the value of that? And there is no value that we can place on that. We are not talking about something that can be measured or should be measured in money. We're not talking about a fungible, real thing that should in any way be traded for a dollar or a penny. We're not talking about oil. We're talking about human blood. And we should not make profit off of that. So this is one area I agree, like let us deregulate, let's have competition. But when we are competing to make the most money off of human blood, we're competing for the wrong thing. So we ought to tear the whole system down. The healthcare insurance system is a fraud, it is a scam, it is built to make money, and it has done that. It is not built to extend lives, and it has shortened them, and that is a crime. Ken, you said you have something you want to say.
Yeah, I want to just add a little bit here. And it's more sort of a general thing about, because I don't want to interrupt if other people have specific concerns they want to talk about, but this will sort of go into that as well. Now, let's say I am elected to the state. I would be one libertarian out of 33. Perhaps there would be another one, but you know, the idea that we can discuss these other things here when they really need to be discussed in our state houses and in Washington. And the only way that happens is if you poll ballots for parties that are not Democrats or Republicans, which is why I encourage especially the pulling of a libertarian ballot this time. Because otherwise we're only going to discuss alternative ways of addressing these systems in rooms like this, when they need to be addressed in the state houses, the local governments, and in the federal government. And that goes again to what you were talking about, the ranked choice voting too. You don't get new ideas anywhere in government without getting other voices in there. And the Democrats or Republicans aren't really interested in other voices. They're interested only in echoes of what they want. So, you know, once again, I just want people to understand that just getting even libertarians in at certain levels, it's very important, very important. Getting other parties in is very important because at least it adds to the discussion. It creates new discussion. But it's not going to be overnight change either, because the other parties, the Democrats and Republicans, are entrenched, but the other voices need to be there so that the people understand there are other options, there are other ways of addressing a lot of very important topics that affect all of us deeply and personally. So I just wanted to add that.
Thank you.
So I want to add one more thing on the issue of health care. It's at the state level. Instead of getting up there, I'll just stand here because I'll make it quick. One of the worst things when it comes to the cost of health care are what's known as certificate of need laws, where basically, essentially, if you have like close place with major hospitals, to me is Allen County, where Lima is. There are 3 major hospitals there. So if someone else wants to build a new medical facility, in the area, the ones that already exist actually have an opportunity to say, nah, we would rather not have a new facility open up, so close to us. I mean, the idea that you can give an existing, operation the veto power to deny someone else who wants to build, whether it's a new practice, a new surgical center, or anything like that, to me, you're saying we want to. It's like we're giving existing hospitals the opportunity to throttle the opportunity for more people to get access to health care, because we like our revenue streams, so we don't want anyone else, we don't want to share that with anyone else. I want to eliminate certificate of need laws in Ohio. Is it going to be the magic bullet? No, but there are so many things we can do to attack this monster and rein in the cost for the everyday people.
I had a question about, it sounded like you were recommending means testing Social Security and Medicare benefits?
Well, I'm not opposed to means testing. I mean, it's like right now I go. I used to go through VA Medical Center for my health care, and I had to do means testing, on an annual basis to show that I actually had a financial need for the VA services. I mean, here's the thing. I mean, someone that worked an hourly job their whole lives, probably they don't. I mean, I understand that it may seem kind of cruel to have means testing, but I guarantee you, someone that worked an hourly job their entire lives will qualify for Social Security. But does someone who
When you were
built up by
referencing the $5,000 a person or
I think that was-
$10,000.
That was me.
No, okay.
No, I would.
Okay,
No,
no, it's-
question. No, I'm not proposing that, but I do think that there needs to be a package of solutions to this problem. I think the most important thing there are twofold. There should be two goals here. I think the first is to provide. It's a low percentage. I believe it's something like 7%. I'm not sure, but it is a low percentage of seniors who live in poverty. People 65 and over have the highest net worth of any segment in our society. The whole idea that, oh, they're the impoverished, well, that is true for some, but it is not true for the vast majority of seniors, first of all. So I would say that, and I think that there should be a BRAC commission, or something like a BRAC commission, because we're looking at what's going to happen here is with Social Security, we're now 6 years out, maybe 6.5 years out from the point where the Social Security Trust Fund, quote unquote, is going to run out of IOUs that they've been giving back to the general fund to get cash from the government general fund. Under current law, that means that it's going to be a 23 or 24% benefit cut for everybody across the board. So that's going to make for an interesting 2032 presidential election, I would say, when you've got seniors looking at a reduction of 23 to 24%.
Hey, that's the year I go.
Okay. In any event, so I think that Congress right now, they've known for decades this is coming. They haven't done anything about it, right? And so there is a proposal out there for a commission to be formed, and commissions for other things, including a general fiscal commission to address all of government spending. But there could be a fiscal commission like to address Social Security that was like the base realignment and closure commission of, I don't know, 10 or 20 years ago, something like that, where they said that, of course, no congressperson wanted the military installation in their district closed down. So there was a commission formed, and to decide what the best solution was for these excess military bases, what's going to be closed down, what's going to be consolidated, and then it would go to Congress, and Congress could not edit, they could not amend the recommendation. They had to vote it up or down, and they voted it up. And I think that there need to be a number of solutions. I'm sorry, I got away from the two main things. I think that we need to provide support for the people who really need it in Social Security, first of all. And the second thing is, I do think if it's fiscally feasible to allow people to take their portion of Social Security taxes and invest it in private accounts, right, which they have property rights in. The dirty little secret about Social Security is there are no property rights in Social Security. The U.S. Supreme Court has said so years ago in the case Nestor v. Fleming. And if the Congress, of course they're not going to do it for political reasons, but if the Congress of the United States wanted to shut down Social Security tomorrow and say we're not going to make any more payments, they could legally do that. And people could invest in private accounts, have personal property rights, earn a greater return than what they're earning through the Social Security system. And I think those are the two main things, but a number of solutions should be covered, including a maximum benefit. Okay, say that we wouldn't means test it, but we say the maximum benefit is $2,500 a month or something like that, which would make sure that people are out of poverty but are not spending too much money monthly on Social Security recipients who really don't need the money, and it's worsening our nation's financial situation, fiscal situation. So those are my comments on Social Security.
Oh, go ahead.
Yes.
Question and a comment. My name is complicated. Somehow, and I don't remember how, all of a sudden, a couple years ago, my middle name had to be put on my middle name from birth, had to be placed on my driver's license. I haven't used my middle name in 50 or more years, but had to do it, had to show my, I don't think I showed my birth certificate, maybe my passport, I don't remember.
For the real ID, you're saying? Part of real
Maybe
ID?
For real
Okay.
ID. My last name is hyphenated, my birth name and my husband's name. Every time I go to the polls, the Lucas County Board of Elections refuses to acknowledge that I am a hyphenated, starts with a D, shouldn't be next to my husband's who starts with an M, But that's where, and it takes some convincing sometimes, depending on who the worker is, to convince them, see, this is who I really am, whatever you need. I've already called the Board of Elections, got the Republican guy, a dominant Republican, to, and that's who I spoke to, no problem, no worry, don't worry about it, you'll be fine for the ballot. I'm not convinced. So the idea, do you happen to know, a short answer, where we're going with the idea of women will have to show up with their papers, a la the Gestapo, to prove who we are and where we come from?
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, thank you for asking an election question. You know, I don't know where we are. I mean, Frank LaRose, the current Secretary of State, handed over 8 million registered voter documents to the DOJ. Where are we on the SAVE Act? I'm crossing, you know, and I hate to say this as someone, you know, who's running for Secretary of State. I'm crossing my fingers that it doesn't pass. Okay. Because of that exact reason, I'm worried for it. My wife, when she had to get the real ID, she had to bring a birth certificate.
Right.
She had to bring, you know, all the documentation saying that just because she took my name when we got married, and she swore to God, we were telling our daughter that if she ever got married, keep your name.
Keep your name.
Don't even bother, you know, taking your husband's name. Don't hyphenate it. Don't do anything.
Right.
Because
Hyphens are awful.
because this is, again, it's dangerous. You are still you. Nothing's changed. And a part of me is actually kind of rubbing my hands and licking my chops because I'm thinking of all those Republican women who took their husband's name back in 1956 who are going to go to vote and they're going to say, I'm sorry, Edna, you can't vote. Why can't I? I've been voting here for years. Well, it says here your last name is such, and it says such now.
And I'm your next door neighbor, and I recognize you.
Exactly, and I know who you are, but I can't let you vote because it's the law. And see, these are dangerous. These are dangerous things that happen when we start ignoring and start voting with our hearts as opposed to our minds, because you know a lot of these people get elected because if I don't vote for this guy, the horrible person's going to get in there. And I guess this is the major reason I think a lot of us libertarians are running, and we just want to offer a choice. Like us, hate us, don't care for us. You know, vote libertarian, vote green, vote socialist. Personally, I don't care. I just want people to have choices. I mean, that's the major reason why I'm running for Ohio Secretary of State. I want everybody to participate. I want everybody to be able to have a piece of the process of selecting their officials.
Are you seeing a support mechanism in place for the SAVE Act in Ohio?
Other than the Republicans, no.
Okay.
Other than the Republicans, I mean, again,
Run the whole show, but
right, exactly. But they are the supermajority in the state house, and this is being dictated not from the state level, but from the federal level. They want this to be a federal law, and my argument has always been from day one: if we are allowing people who aren't supposed to vote in Ohio, then should we not blame the current occupant of the Secretary of State's office for letting that, and the person prior to that? So for 16 years, we had Republicans controlling this office. Mm-hmm. So are we going to say that for 16 years we've been letting people vote who weren't supposed to be voting? You know, then these people now want new jobs. One of them wants to be your U.S. Senator, and we're going to reward him with that. Great news segment I saw. A reporter asked John Husted straight up. He's like, "You were the Secretary of State of Ohio. How, you know, did you have any, you know, how was voting done there?" "Oh, it's great. You know, you can go in there with the driver's license, utility bill, things like that." And she's hit him with a gotcha, and that is, "Oh, but you had no problems, right?" Why all of a sudden it's a problem? And this is a very important part of it. We see it as, you could see it as face value. It's a way for the Republicans to make sure that you don't go out to vote, that they can disenfranchise many people, to keep their majority in Washington. They don't care about what's going on in the state. The Republicans here in the state of Ohio have literally taken a torch and burned their party with it because there's no competition within the state. They just get the worse and worse candidates to come out and run. And they become more and more vile, a Josh Williams.
Yeah.
You know, a Gary Glick. You know, these are people who their whole life is to serve their party. And and again, people like Zach, people like Ken, you know, if they got elected to the state house, you would wonder, for decades we've been sending representatives down to Columbus. You think at some point they would say to themselves, you know, there's got to be a quicker way to get to Columbus than meandering through the back roads to get there. You know, we don't have a direct highway.
That's going to be my next comment.
Yeah.
I'm your constituent.
Yeah.
In 43.
Oh.
I do not know if you are aware, because many people are not, even those people who live nearby, that ODOT's plan is to widen I-475.
Yes.
From Douglas Road to
Done
US
with me.
23.
Correct.
They want 6 lanes for the distance, and they want 8 lanes on the segment between Secor and Talmadge. I am the coordinator for the I-475 Neighborhoods Coalition ever since it started 6 years ago. And I will tell you that Ohio is 34th in the nation for land area. Square miles in land area, we are 34th. Can annex, Michigan can annex, part of Pennsylvania. That's finite.
Mm-hmm.
We are 3rd in the country for urban interstate land mass. 3rd. So the idea that we need more highway.
And where are we in deaths from diesel particulates?
Yes,
Yeah.
The idea that we need more interstate highway anywhere in the state is a money-making operation for ODOT. ODOT's 24-25 budget was $11.5 billion, and of that budget, even though in their own documentation they say we are in desperate need of public transit to support the workforce. They say in the 3 Cs, Canton and Toledo, I can't get a final answer on where Toledo is, but in those 5 cities, between 26 and 50%, this is out of ODOT's information, between 26 and 50% of households are 0-car households. To keep the workforce going, we absolutely have to invest in public transit. So out of that $11.5 billion in 24-25's budget, 1.1% was dedicated to public transit and 0.3 was dedicated to rail. So the idea that we have the imbalance feeding ODOT, feeding the construction industry, feeding whoever's getting fed by these enormous amounts of money puts at risk those people who live 475 feet, interestingly enough, from I-475. And the group brought a incredible speaker the 18th of March to Toledo. His name is Dr. Patrick Ryan. He is a researcher from Cincinnati Children's Hospital. He has been a 25-year cohort study of the same children that started at 6 months old and takes them all the way through now to their young adulthood in asthma, in cancer, in mental health issues, and whatever, because of their close proximity to highway particulate matter. And so diesel is worse than gasoline, and the diesel particulate matter that is intended to be run 475 feet from my home, because of the Gordie Howe Bridge opening and because of we have to get plastic dish pans in 2 hours, or something's wrong with our country if I can't get my plastic dish pan in 2 hours because Nancy got hers in an hour and a half. The idea that we have consumptive consumerism driving all of these issues has been an issue for me for the 40 years that I've been politically active in Toledo, Ohio. So the idea that diesel, when you mention diesel, the hair went up on the back of my neck, because it is a health harm, and the closer we put it to people's homes. Right now, the property owners on I-475, some of them are their property line is only 50 feet from the existing highway, and some of them are going to get from a 4-lane highway right now to an 8-lane highway. It's going to take their property, which I believe, if I understand libertarianism at all, you do not take people's property.
Yeah, we are definitely staunchly opposed to
Eminent domain.
Eminent domain. Thank you.
Right. Oh, they won't call it eminent domain. They'll qualify it by saying, well, we'll pay these people. Well, will they be paid fairly? But even so, what if they do not want to give up their property and you're forcing
And
them
that's
to do
the
it?
problem that we're having, because in Northwest Ohio, we don't have a representative down in Columbus who's going to actually bring that to the state floor and actually speak on the constituents' behalf. That's the problem that we're having. If more of us would speak up, so if I was elected, I'm not saying that I would fix everything magically. Being the only one elected down there, I'm going to come in and they're going to say, who are you? That's what they're going to think. But it's called building coalitions of people who also have the same constituents complaining about the same issues throughout the state. Because I guarantee Northwest Ohio and our district is not the only district having those problems. Who people are just, their homes are being taken away. Over in Point Place, I know that people's homes, they were taken because of roundabouts. Now, I don't mind roundabouts, okay? I really don't care, as long as it's not taking people's homes and it's not causing a disturbance. Okay,
Well, they're terrible for pedestrians and for bicyclists because everything is focused completely on car.
Correct.
And there's a long history of that. The environmental injustice, the economic injustice to the people who live nearby. When ODOT started this plan, and I'm bringing this up because of your comment, but I'm also bringing it up with fixing nationwide health care or Social Security, big problem. This is a fixable problem. It just takes the political will, because I have a list of, 25 or 30 different cities that when their elected officials stood up and said, you're not going to bring in more highway into our town. And many of the decisions were unanimous on a local level by a city council or county commissioner. Unanimous. The project got scrapped. We've been pushing for years, as I said, 6 years to get our city council and county commissioners to scrap this plan because of the harm that it will bring economically, health-wise, what we are not doing while we are doing that. I mean, from every angle, I find nothing redeeming about this.
4.5 years for construction.
Well, I can tell you this, if I'm elected, I'd love to meet with you guys, and I would love to... And I would love to...
I was also
deal! That's a deal!
and even at that, I mean, here's the key point. Even if he doesn't agree with you about, that we should not widen the expressway, once elected, libertarians, we put the value on the individuals, the people that we're representing, as opposed to our special interests. And see, that's the big difference. When you get politicians who say, oh yeah, we're going to stop that, they go down to Columbus, next thing you know, they're being lobbied by some group or whatever like that, and then they go, well, it's a necessity and things like that. They'll lie to your face to you and do that. We have no desire to do that.
No desire to do that. My desire is to represent the constituents of my community. I'm not taking PAC money. I'm not taking any money from outside donors that are going to try and buy my way into office, because that's not my plan to do so. Yeah. I'm working off a Kroger paycheck 40 hours a week, okay?
See,
I'm stacking groceries for a living.
My point is this, to cut to the point that I'm really trying to make. As I understand libertarianism, and I've been in vehicles for long distance driving twice in my life with somebody who was very committed to libertarianism, and we had long conversations. The free market aspect of things, I believe, is a core tenet. Am I not right about that?
Sure, it is. Yes.
Fine. If we are not harming, on balance, the many people who live. We have 15,000 residents in ODOT's project area. It is the most densely residential area on the entire Toledo Beltway. And ODOT themselves, back when they started this, said, we know who lives here. It is senior citizens, it is minority populations, it is limited English proficiency people, and it is people who are on limited income, okay? We know this, and we will tell you in our own documentation. We didn't need the guy from Cincinnati, although he was amazing. We will tell you that the highways are carcinogenic. They name 9 EPA identified carcinogens that come off of a highway. The demographics and the carcinogens should have stopped this project dead. So free market being whatever it is, and that would be a long conversation that I'm not going to take you all into, I'm saying there has to be a balance point where free market does not trump the rights of the citizens who live nearby, or their health, or their economic, because your property values are obviously going to be diminished, if not plummet, whenever they find out that you're right next to now an 8-lane highway.
Understandable.
I have to say everything you're saying is true, and I know that because I live right there because I am very poor. So
You're what?
very poor.
Oh.
But when we're talking about this, I see a common theme popping up. We're talking about ODOT or healthcare or any of these extant structures of power and control. We've also mentioned supermajorities. We've had a supermajority Republican Party in the Ohio House for quite some time. We've had a supermajority in the Democrat side during Barack Obama won. All of these extant structures of power and control are not going to be taken down by the inside from the people who built them. The Democrat and Republican Party both have built this mess that we are all now living in. We've been so convinced to fight amongst ourselves over wedge issues, over small things, that we have completely lost the big picture. And absolutely, everything that you are passionate about is absolutely true. It is real. It's important. But we have to draw back from that and say that the entire system isn't working for us. So when we're talking about ODOT knows how to do one thing, and that is how to build roads. They know how to widen highways. And so that's what they do. That's what they're built to do. They're not built to think about railway. They're not built to think about public transportation or pedestrians. They are not built to think about anything but building roads. So when we say the free market, yes, the free market is amazing, but it is a hypothetical because we don't live in a free market. We live in an oligarchy, and everything is controlled by the same corporations and the same billionaires and the same two parties. They have us fighting amongst ourselves for scraps while ODOT decides to change from 4 lanes to 8 right in my neighborhood because they can, because that's the easy thing. That's the thing that they know how to do. Libertarians are here to say, hey, stop. Let's look at the hard thing. Let's look at the thing that does not support these extant structures of power and control that we can all see patently don't work for us. No matter what way you voted, we haven't gotten our way, because if we had, we would all be happy people in this room, and we're not. So I'm going to give it up again to questions, and I'm going to run out to
a lot of what your concerns are. One thing that I think can be helpful. It's not a magic cure. Like running at James Mills has introduced a great idea to our campaign, is that we want to try and create a publicly searchable database for every single governmental contract that goes out year after year. Because if you can see who's signing the contracts and how, and then find out, well, who from this company has been donating to which legislators in Ohio, you'll have a lot of public outcry that will bring a lot of this corruption to a screeching halt. I mean, it'll be a process. It won't happen like a flip of the switch, but the things will be set in motion. If we can make that happen, like I said, a publicly searchable database for every governmental contract goes out there. I mean, you'll find out, well, no wonder ODOT's favoring this project because it's being pushed by this company that's lobbied Josh Williams, let's say, just as a hypothetical example, and, however many other state legislators. Well, I mean, all of a sudden, if there's enough, voter outcry, they will have to take notice. Yeah. And I mean, it will help. Like I said, it won't happen overnight, but it will become a beneficial process.
A good example is like the exit off of 475 in Monclova that they just did. That was strictly because Dana Corporation wanted an exit.
Same with the Door Street interchange.
Exactly. UT wanted a direct route.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
And they were stymied by the Ottawa Hills people who didn't let them widen Sequel Road.
Correct. Yeah.
I mean, literally, that was the impetus for that.
Yeah.
So, if I know anything, and I've been politically active for a long time,
Right.
if I know anything, it's day in and day out working to try to oppose this highway. And, you know, it is symptomatic to me of the lack of regard that goes historically back to when highways were created.
Yeah.
Red line districts, city after city after city, including Toledo.
Right.
I have the historical data.
Yeah.
We took people who were disposable, expendable, their lives were expendable. If we didn't displace them, we built a highway literally, you know, through their backyard or right next to their backyard.
I know exactly what you're talking about. My parents' first house
Yeah.
was right, you know where that bridge is, right behind the old Kmart on North Toledo?
Yeah.
They call it the Polish Village Bridge.
Right.
That's exactly where my parents' house at. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
Same thing.
Yeah.
So the idea that, and I appreciate talking, I will always talk big problems.
Yeah.
You know, the war in Iran, I mean, I'm well versed on it.
But the most important things are local.
But I'm pretty expert on the highway thing,
Yeah.
and more diesel will harm more people, no doubt about it, no doubt about it.
Well, so when I talk about, you know, slashing diesel fuel taxes, though, it's not about getting more diesel. It's just making the diesel operations currently existing less expensive.
But then you bring more diesel as a.
I mean, it's possible. I'm not going to lie. But the thing is, I mean, the trade-off now, I mean, is life going to become too expensive for people to live? You know.
And then you go to my argument that I'm already iterated to, and that is we have a consumptive consumerist society, and we have to reach a place where we start realizing, if I buy this glass today, is that going to affect your life tomorrow? And it may. So I did use that plastic dishpan analogy in front of the room full of people when I was introducing the speaker, and it was what the Blade printed, which I was thrilled about. You know, my health should not matter more than you getting a plastic dishpan in 2 hours. And my health will suffer, you know, because of closer and closer and closer proximity to all highways, but particularly diesel fuel is really, really damaging.
Now, one thing I support, and this is more of a federal issue than it is state level, is, you know, trying to reform, if not eliminate, a lot of the liability protection laws that exist out there. That's why there's a lot of products and a lot of just operations that have no regard for things like, you know, environmental health and whatnot. Because, like, if a company hires someone that just says, you know, we're going to churn out as much profit, you know, public health be damned, you know, at some point, for putting, you know, all manner of toxins out there into the air, into the soil, into the water, people should be able to take them to court and then make them clean things up. But with liability protection, through the various incorporation laws, liability limitation laws that exist at the federal level, it gets harder and harder to take these companies to courts that that poison, you know, the communities where we live. And it should be much easier to get them to court, make them clean things up, and, you know, get them to restore, you know, people who have been harmed by these operations.
Look at the old Champion property there that took decades to, you know, get cleaned up.
And Denizen Management that owns Executive Towers.
Yeah.
I helped move a friend out of there, one of the top floors, and it was a hellhole. And I mean, I've been very poor for quite some time, so I've lived in some hellholes, and I'm a subject matter expert. It was a hellhole. They only had one working elevator. There was literally like mold and everything. And then I was like thinking about it, I'm like, it's called Denizen Management. Have you ever heard denizen be used in a positive context? It's like denizen of evil, denizen of the night. It's like not denizen of like happy people who take care of each other. I'm like, that should have been your first hint. But when we have like a truly open market where people actually have the ability to fight amongst themselves to do the best for people, that's a theoretical healthy system. But we don't live in that. We live in an oligarchy I love the idea of regulating the environment. I love the idea of like regulating things because people will get away with exactly as much as you let them. But on the other hand, we've gotten so far from anything approaching a free market where the big corporations push for regulations. because they know that it squeezes the little guy out. And I own a food truck. I have rolling licenses that are all expiring right now, and all together in Northwest Ohio is about $2,500. And to cook dry noodles, $2,500. And the only times that my business has almost closed, the only times that my business has really, really been at risk has been from my own government.
Yeah.
My government has been my biggest problem in cooking dry noodles. Whether it's a local health department and they say we're going to tell sugar no, or a local fire department that say or are told, oh, we're going to tell sugar no. And over again, you have these people who have the discretion because of the entrenched power to decide, oh, you're breaking the law today, and give me about 45 minutes, and I'll find 3 of them that you're breaking. We have gotten to a point where the laws are so voluminous that law enforcement can at any time say you are indeed breaking a law, and that is the pestilent problem of these extant structures of power and control. It's power and control, and power and control doesn't give; it takes, and it's been taking for us for decades. We all have to break out of it. And so I have some background in behavioral science. If you reward the system that is hurting you with your vote, you're hurting yourself. And overwhelmingly, the biggest voting bloc in America is non-voters. They've been disenfranchised. They say, I'm not going to vote for something that's not going to fight for me. And I understand that. But the real way to fight back is to take that vote and say, it's going outside the system. It's not voting. It is going specifically outside of your control. And that is how you say, you don't control me, you won't anymore, and I will vote for you when you earn it. And they've had decades to earn it, and they haven't.
Oh, it failed big time.
And one thing to just add before we wrap up here, to
I
get
didn't
to
mean
your
to
point.
take those.
No, I love it. You're very smart. You have facts and figures.
I love it.
I love it. And
Brought
I just
some
wanted
important
to.
points.
I wanted to come to your point. Who all remembers the Don't Dump on South Toledo?
Who remembers what?
The Don't Dump on South Toledo.
Yeah,
the illegal mining. I was part of those press conferences. I was standing in those press conferences. I helped place yard signs. I was there for that. I don't agree with government impeding on our rights and infecting our neighborhoods with dangerous debris. And I also don't agree with taking our own properties to make government have more roadways or properties to do what they want with. That's the problem with government. We don't own our homes. We rent our homes even after we buy them, and that's how government sees us. They just see us as a little ant on an anthill, and they feel like we don't have a voice.
And so, I'm sorry, I am interrupting because I dealt with this 3 months ago. One of my good friends, Phelan Fairchild, a lot of you know she is a trans author from the area. She was going to lose her house over a $1,200 back tax bill. Lose her house in Oak Harbor. And Sugar got out and sold some noodles and went and got a cashier's check and but literally she was at the end of the rope. She tried to communicate with the government offices, and the government offices were stonewalling her. And as far as she was like, there's nothing else. I guess can I live on your couch? I was like, yeah, but let me try something else first. Literally, when we say rent seeking, when Zach talks about we're paying rent even if we own our own home, that's what we're talking about. Over $1,200, they can take your home and everything at any moment. And none of us, I'm pretty sure, are in the 1% of the 1%. So we're all a couple months away from being that person.
And that's what I mean by when government isn't listening to you or your friends and neighbors who are part of your coalition. It's because government doesn't care. They already own your house. They don't care. Government owns your house, yours, mine, yours.
Rent.
That's how they own it. That's how they control us, and that's the problem. Because yes, does property taxes fund some of the greatest things that they say that takes care of our neighborhoods? Sure,
Maybe.
if that's what they think. But not really, because none of that money actually goes to those things.
Yeah.
And that's the problem that I see when everybody in the rooms that I go and talk to, or friends and neighbors, they're like, well, and then I tell them, and it's like, oh, I didn't know that. And that's why I want to go down to be a state representative for Northwest Ohio and actually stand up for people like yourself, because I'll tell you what, I live over on Jackman and Sylvania area. I live right down the road from Toledo Hospital, and right there's the highway. My dad shouldn't be anywhere near that stuff. He shouldn't. He's 65, he has emphysema, COPD, etc.
You're right.
He shouldn't be anywhere near that stuff. And I just can't afford to move. He lives with me because he retired way too early because he got hurt while he was a mechanic. A car fell on top of him, so we had to retire early. He did not get that payment from Medicaid that he should have, or Social Security. So now, he's not even allowed to get on disability insurance because he retired too early. And that's the problem that a lot of us see. I mean, and that's why I want to go down and be a voice. Not only for you, but I'm running because I want my dad to live a good rest of his life, to be able to meet my grandkids once I have them. My husband and I, once we adopt, I want him to be able to enjoy that life. And I want him to be able to succeed in having a great grandparent experience and parental experience with me. I mean, I'm still only 25. I'm a baby myself. But yes, I just wanted to say I am all for what you're saying, and I do want to meet with you, even if I'm not elected. Let's meet soon. But thank you.
Awesome.
A couple of points. You know, like we're talking about property taxes, I am fully in favor of abolishing property tax in Ohio. This, I mean, let's face it, people on fixed incomes and senior citizens are always the most heavily impacted by property tax and any kind of delinquency. Again, when you own your home, it should be yours, not on rent from the government. The next point I want to raise is, I'm long been a firm believer that there is room for environmental law. My favorite example on that conversation is always going to be, you know, the ban on lead particulates in gasoline that happened back in the 80s. Now, Reason magazine did some great coverage on this. There was a researcher who, by pure happenstance, had to find two charts that tracked perfectly together. One was the amount of lead particulates in the air as a result of the ban, as fewer and fewer lead and fuel cars were on the roads, and then, like with a slight lag behind it, was the steady decline in violent crime in this country. People, yes,
And mental health crises.
yeah, because if you're breathing in lead particulates, it has terrible effect on your brain, on your central nervous system. It's like I said, there's plenty of room for environmental law. It just, are we using it, reactively or proactively? Because when you're proactive, sometimes you stifle people's right to live. But when you recognize the problem, you can't just drag your feet and go, well, Corporation X is paying me way too much money for my next campaign to, actually put this into place. No, we need to say, here's the science. We need to put a stop to this right now. And putting lead additives in gasoline was definitely a great choice. My dad, who was a Reagan Republican, thought this was the worst conspiracy that he'd ever heard of. Boy, was Dad wrong. I just wish he could have lived long enough to actually see, oh, yeah, this probably was for the best, wasn't it?
Driving too many lead cars.
Well, thank you. Thank you to all of our candidates. Thank you, everyone, for coming. I think it is so important that we get to see that there are people fighting for us who are fighting for structural change, not for incrementalism within the systems that are broken and breaking us. That's what we're here for. And I ask everybody to please pull a Libertarian ballot when you go to the polls on May 5th. Everyone will vote for the same laws. This is not a general election. It doesn't matter. Republican, Democrat, you guys are all Democrats. I can see it in your eyes. Pull a Libertarian ballot, because that is an action that you can take that shows the system that you are unpleased with the system. This does not affect anything. Yes?
Will you be standing here with what we need to actually,
Yes,
Yes.
we will have slate cards for you to do that. Yeah, because we also have writing candidates that would need to be written in,
Like Aiden
just
Jeffrey.
like Aiden Jeffrey.
Yes. Amen.
There you go. Take a picture of that.
Awesome. Well, thank you again all so much. And I would just ask you, just look at the systems and realize from a big picture perspective, they've both been in charge. They've both had all of the opportunity in the world, and they have not used it to make your lives better. They have used it to make the systems more entrenched. And that doesn't work for us, so do not give that your vote. My name is David Getter, and thank you for coming tonight.